this month has been all about modifications for the neck. So we talked about, there's four common poses. So when you start a class, typically you'll start out, depending on what your class is. I often start off with just a nice seated warm-up. You guys probably know this already. But a seated warm-up, and I like to incorporate the neck. So instead of just coming right into, say, lateral flexion, we're going to start with some just shoulder rolls. Just shoulder rolls or shoulder shrugs. And if somebody is really restricted, we maintain as good of posture as possible, right? And lifting the sternum. So we're pulling the belly button to the spine. And we can laterally flex slightly if it's comfortable. And this is something too that you can do it a little bit more fluidly if it's uncomfortable to hold it. And so instead of saying turning and looking the opposite direction, I would say we just rotate. Or again, if rotation isn't possible, we use the eyes. And it sounds crazy, but it's all connected. It's all connected. It really is. So if we look one direction, the other direction, and I wouldn't have a lot of flexion and extension going on. I would maintain that neutral. So we can look up with the eyes though, and we can look down. So the other things we talked about were how to modify camel. So we come on to our knees, you're going to want to strap. And instead of coming as far back as we normally would, we grab a strap. Again, thumbs out, otherwise we're creating that medial rotation, and that's not what we want here. So we reach back. So the strap it depends on the person. Mine is slightly wider than my hips for placement of the hands there, and there's slight tension across it. So see how we're not, and we can even leave the neck here. We could be here. So we're not coming back as we would typically, or back further even, because it's too much on the neck if there's a neck issue there. We talked about modifying fish pose with some blocks. Again, you could use a bolster if you don't have blocks, or a dense pillow and put it here. But I like the blocks. So we're here. I prefer them this way. If the neck is a little bit tighter, you might want to raise this one. And again, whichever leg position is comfortable. So we're going to bring the blocks right under the shoulder blades. And this one comes right under the back of the head. So we're rolling the chest open. And I like the palms up and the knees bent, just because I feel like it just feels good. The other pose that we talked about for modifications for the neck, so we're going to roll, but I'm pressing into the shoulder so I'm not rolling off the block, because that would be uncomfortable, is Shavasana. And again, remember, we're thinking about the entire spine when we think about the neck, just like with anything. But so I'm going to have, you can do a little roll like this. You can also just fold it over if it's not as extreme of a case. We can have a bolster for the knees if that's what you like. And we come down, and it lifts the head just slightly. So our whole idea here is to try to work within the safe range. So we do not want to cause pain or discomfort. We want to make sure that there's a feeling of support, especially in Shavasana. And we relax. And again, you can modify this, the blanket, as much as you need to.